In 2018, scientists discovered a hole beneath Antarctica. Not a crack, not a crevice, a cavity, 3 times the size of Manhattan, 10 feet tall, carved into the bottom of a glacier that holds enough ice to raise global sea levels by 11 feet if it melts. They did not find it by drilling. They found it by accident, using NASA radar designed to measure ice thickness from the air. The hole was not supposed to be there. It was not in any model. It was not predicted by any simulation. It appeared in data that scientists were analyzing for an entirely different purpose. When they published the findings, the headlines said, "Unexpected." That word was doing a lot of work. The glacier is called Thwaites. Scientists have a second name for it. They call it the Doomsday Glacier. Not unofficially. That is the name used in peer-reviewed literature. Here is what Thwaites holds: enough ice to raise every ocean on Earth by more than 2 feet on its own. And it is connected to the rest of the West Antarctic ice sheet, which holds enough to raise sea levels by 11 feet total. Thwaites is not stable. It has been retreating since the 1940s. The retreat has been accelerating since the 1990s. The acceleration is accelerating. The void is why. When glaciers melt, they melt from the surface down. That is the model. That is what the simulations were built on. That is what the projections assumed. Thwaites is not melting from the surface down. Warm ocean water. Water that has no business being where it is. Water that traveled from the tropics along the ocean floor, found a pathway under the glacier. It is melting Thwaites from the bottom up, from the inside out. The void is what that water carved. 300 billion tons of ice, gone in roughly 3 years, from a place no sunlight reaches, from a place no human has ever been. And here is what the 2018 paper said about the void's effect on their projections. They had to revise them. Not slyly, not marginally. The models that governments use to plan coastal infrastructure, that insurance companies use to calculate risk, that the IPCC uses to advise every nation on Earth, all of them were built without this void. Because no one knew the void existed. Now they do. And the revised projections have not been made public in a single unified statement. They exist in individual papers, in scientific journals, behind paywalls, in language that requires a PhD to parse. The void is real. The revisions are real. The public number is still the old number. The question no one in an official position has directly answered is this: if the models were wrong about a cavity 3 times the size of Manhattan, what else are they wrong about? In 2019, a separate research team sent a robot under Thwaites for the first time. The robot is called IceFin. It is roughly the size and shape of a torpedo. It was lowered through a narrow borehole drilled through 2,000 feet of ice and deployed into the water beneath. What it found was not what anyone expected. The melting at the base of the glacier was not uniform. It was not smooth or gradual. The ice ceiling above the water was carved into terraces, staircase formations that the scientists said they had never seen before and had no existing model to explain. The melt was happening in concentrated bursts, in specific locations, driven by warm water finding specific fractures and rushing in. The ice was not melting. It was being eaten. That is not a metaphor. The lead scientist used that word in the paper. Beneath those terraces, in the water that carved them, the temperature was 2 degrees Celsius above freezing. 2 degrees does not sound like much. At the base of a glacier that holds 11 feet of sea level rise, 2 degrees is the difference between stable and gone. The water at 2 degrees has been there since at least the 1940s. No one measured it before that because no one was looking. Before the 1940s, no instrument had ever been placed under Thwaites. We have been flying blind over the most consequential piece of ice on Earth for the entirety of human civilization. There is a second void. In 2023, using the same radar technology, a different research group identified another cavity system. This one not under Thwaites, but under the Denman Glacier, 1,500 miles away on the other side of the continent. The Denman Glacier sits above the deepest land canyon on Earth, a canyon that descends 11,000 feet below sea level, deeper than most of the ocean, deeper than any point in the Atlantic. If ocean water reaches the base of Denman through that canyon, the geometry means it cannot be stopped. The paper describing this was published in 2023. It received less coverage than the average weather report. In 2024, a team from the British Antarctic Survey reported that Thwaites' eastern ice shelf, the part acting as a structural plug holding the rest of the glacier in place, is fracturing. Not slowly, not theoretically. The fractures are measurable. They are widening. The timeline they published was not centuries. It was not decades. They did not publish a single number. They said the shelf could fail. And when it does, the retreat of Thwaites will no longer be gradual. It will be a threshold event. A threshold event means before and after, a line you cross that does not uncross. The void beneath Antarctica is not a geological curiosity. It is not a footnote in a climate report. It is the mechanism, the place where the warm water entered, the place where 300 billion tons of ice disappeared without anyone on the surface knowing it was happening. It was found by accident. The second one was found because scientists went looking. No one knows how many more there are. The ice that covers Antarctica has been there for 34 million years. It has survived every climate shift in that time, every ice age, every warming period, every mass extinction. What is happening now is not a climate shift. It is a single human lifetime of industrial output intersecting with the one geological formation on Earth that, if destabilized, cannot be restabilized on any timeline a human government can plan around. The void is 300 billion tons of absence, and it was invisible until 3 years ago. What else is under there that we haven't found yet? Drop your answer in the comments. The next video covers something discovered even deeper, beneath the ocean floor itself, that the scientists who found it said broke their understanding of how life works. We'll see you there.